welcome everybody to our first online forum for the Digital Innovation Member Network. I'm Kate. Oh, well, I'm not Isabel. We've had some technical difficulties this morning. So Isabel, who is on the line here, is the Membership and Communications Manager at LG Professionals New South Wales, and we're all very excited to have you join us at the soft launch for this new network. So we'd like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're all meeting, and pay our respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. And we'll move on. So firstly, I'd like to start by introducing you to the Executive Committee of the Digital Innovation Member Network. So I'm Caitlin Sowski. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at Murrumbidgee Council, and I'm very excited to introduce my fellow Executive Committee members. So we're joined by Adele Smith, who's the Coordinator of Customer Experience at, I did not double check the pronunciation of your council. I checked all the names.
Yeah, Wingecarribee.
Wingecarribee Shire Council. Ken Ang from Lane Cove Shire Council, Lane Cove Council, apologies. Stephen Fernando, who's the Director of Corporate Services at Murray River Council, and Glenn Newman, who's the Manager of Information Technology at Blaney Shire Council. We're all passionate about digital innovation within local government, and we're looking forward to creating meaningful and engaging events for the sector. We also have a very special guest here with us today, Simon Adcock from Wallandilly Shire Council, and we're looking forward to hearing all about his project shortly. So today we've got an agenda that's packed full of insightful sessions on transformation, automation and innovation, which are three key areas for our new member network. We'll have a quick break in the middle before we hear from Simon, and then at the end we'll have a question and answer session with an opportunity to network with each other at the end. So without further ado, I'd now like to welcome our first speaker, Stephen Fernando, who's the Director of Corporate Services at Murray River Council, who'll be speaking on transformation, and he's going to share a tale of two projects. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, Kathleen. Yes, basically, I'd like to start by giving a bit of context. Sorry, Kathleen, should I be sharing, or are you?
Yeah, if you just share your screen.
Yep.
It should just take over.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. There we are. Is that good? Oh, sorry, not there yet.
Beautiful.
All good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're talking today about transformation, automation, and innovation. So I'd like to start by giving a bit of context to what these things mean and how they differ or relate to one another. So if you look at the dictionary, transformation is defined as a marked change, usually one for the better. And obviously that's what we are all trying to achieve. And that's pretty much self-explanatory there. So if you look at transformation from a Venn diagram perspective, pretty much most of the projects we do are transformative in one form or another. And innovation is a subset of transformation, because you would expect that all innovation projects would have some sort of transformative effect. And if you look at automation, some of the automation can be innovative, but some of them may not be. Innovation being defined as something that is not done before, something that is cutting edge. But I would expect most or all automation projects to also be transformative. So you can have a transformation project that is not falling within the automation or innovation subsets, but for the most part will have some elements of those types of projects. So starting with the two projects, I'd like to start by giving a few key features. And I'm going to talk about the ERP migration project here at Murray River Council, and a smart city project that was done at Mackay Regional Council some time back, with which I was involved in. So if you look at the ERP migration, it's just to switch ERP products from one brand or one vendor to another. Obviously, as part of that, there was a review of the processes and practices. And given that we are going into a later version of the product, there were new features that we could make use of. And there are some aspects of automation built within that new product. And obviously, we will look at adopting those where possible. As opposed to that, Smart City project was to install 40,000 smart meters on all the water meters in the region. It was the first of a kind in Australia. There were a couple of handful that were done, maybe about 4 that were done globally, 2 in the US, 1 in the UK, and another one somewhere in Europe. But even though there were things done, the technology we were using was different to all of those. It was a new technology, it was a new product, and Mackay was the first customer of this vendor who was trying to sell and implement this technology. And to make matters worse, there was no software. So there was no point doing a smart city project and getting a lot of data if there's no software to analyze it and make sense of it. There was no software. And as a result, Mackay Regional Council went into building that software, which was a big project in itself. So if you look at it from a roadmap perspective, the ERP project is like going on a trip using Google Maps. All the details are there, the roads are there, you can plan the project. Whereas the Smart City project was just like doing a trek using a compass. Think of it maybe even as a high dense jungle or something like that, going through it. You know where you're trying to get to, but you have no clue what path you're taking. And that's essentially a transformation project, whereas that would be called an innovation project. So just to give a little bit of some of the features and put a bit more context into what transformation is and what innovation is. So what are the project features? For the ERP project, it's a known process and a tested product. There's nothing new there. Many people have done this before. The vendors are knowledgeable. There are consultants who can help you. So not a problem. And the risks are manageable. There are risks, but you can manage them. Whereas if you look at the Smart City project, there was no process, untested product. The vendor themselves didn't know much about the product. And we were taking, walking along with the vendor, trying to figure out things, doing things. The product we finally installed on the water meters after a 2-year process was very different, even from the look and feel of the product that we saw when we first started talking to the vendor. And there are multiple high risks, and I'll come to that a little bit in the next slide. So just some of the features so that you can identify, are we talking of an innovation project or are we talking of a basic transformation project? So what are the success factors for each of these kinds of projects? Doesn't matter what project you do, you need to have clear objectives. It's the type of objectives that are different for the 2 projects. For the ERP project, the objectives are outcomes. We need to get these outcomes, right? Because you know what the product is, what the project is, you can clearly define that. For an innovation project, that's not easy. So really, the objectives are to go in a certain direction. And the end point of where we want to reach, but how you get there, that's not very clear at the start. With the ERP project, you can take a structured approach. Again, it's the Google Maps. Everything is there. It'll tell you where to go, how long it'll take, all of that sort of stuff. But for an innovation project, what you really need is agility. You have to change paths all the time. You hit, I don't know, fallen trees across the street, rivers, mountains, whatever it is, and you need to keep changing to be able to overcome those obstacles that you will face. With a basic project, you can get into firm contracts and you can take actions to mitigate your risks. through contractual terms and through other actions. But in a new project, you can't have a firm contract. It has to be by nature a flexible contract. And because the risks are not clearly known, sometimes the risk may be known, you don't know what extent the risk is, you can't quantify that risk. You are not able to mitigate those risks. What you need to understand with your suppliers and contractors is who is bearing what risk. I know in local government, we have a tendency to be very risk averse, and for some very good reasons because of the environment we are working in. But in a new project, if you try to push all the risks onto your partners or vendors, they will most likely walk away because they just can't take all the risks. So you need to understand who is best positioned to manage each kind of risks and then come into a risk sharing arrangement. That's very important in an innovation project. With a defined project, you can set very clear budgets for the whole project. But when you don't know things, you need to take what I call an options approach. So in financial markets, you can buy options, and essentially you pay a small price to buy an option that gives you time to decide whether you want to buy the underlying financial instrument or not. So it's the same thing. So in a new project, you have to break it down into very small stages, and you only commit to the current stage, and you have clear objectives of what you want to achieve at the end of that. And at the end of each stage is what is generally referred to as a gateway, a go, no go decision. Have we achieved the objectives? Do we have enough for us to say we are going to now take on the next stage? So it's an option to look at the next stage. And that's why it's called an options approach. So, and the budget has to be just, for the most part, the budget is for the current stage. At the end of the stage, you decide, okay, what do we need for the next stage? Is that worth it? Have we progressed enough for us to be able to commit more money to this project? And that's sometimes really difficult in a local government setting, because especially if there are people who don't understand the nature of the project, they want firm budgets, what is happening, etc. Again, for a defined project, the accountability has to be on the outcome because the objectives were from the outcome. But innovative projects, if you take multiple projects, sorry, am I on yet? Because I'm getting a message saying Zoom quit unexpectedly. All right, I'll keep going.
Yep, it's all good.
All right. If you do multiple innovation projects, you know you're not going to have success in every one of them. Some of them, because you're taking an options approach, you'll get to the first or second stage and decide, no, this just isn't working. We need to give this up. And you have to be pretty brutal about that. But because you do not know exactly how you're going to do a new project, the accountability has to be for the process. Have you gone through the process? Even going through the process properly, there might be instances where you have to abandon projects, and that's part of innovation. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to say, yes, this is not working, we are going to abandon it, then you shouldn't be undertaking innovation projects, because that's going to be inevitable. So that's a bit of a comparison about transformation and innovation, a sort of quick summary. If anyone wants more details of either one of those projects, happy for them to contact me to get more details about who did what and what vendors we used or anything like that. So that's the end of my presentation on transformation and how it compares to the other end of the spectrum, which is innovation. But I guess the next session is about automation, which is I see that as one step further from a basic transformation project. And for that, we have Adele, who is a fellow executive committee member, and she will take on from here. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Stephen, and thank you, Isabella, for driving the slides. So good morning all. I'm happy to be presenting to you today on the topic of automation and how I've previously contributed to improving the DA assessment and determination process. Although largely a digital transformation project, there are many aspects of automation that remove the repetitive tasks, removing repetitive tasks that allow staff to focus on value-adding tasks and thereby delivering an optimum customer experience. So common pain points experienced by councils with the development assessment process. The assessment process is very, very paper-based. Traditionally manila folders with key development information on the front travelled around council to each officer responsible with the assessment and determination of a DA. Plans would get misplaced, folders misplaced, and by the nature, the system offered very little transparency and accountability. As a result, delays began to arise across the many points of the assessment process, and this saw the average assessment time begin to creep up. Add to the mix the introduction of the New South Wales Planning Portal, and data duplication became an issue. The duplication hindered not only in delays around the processing, but it introduced data integrity issues. Can you pop to the next slide, please, Isabel? Thank you. So the solution, leveraging technology and automation to allow us to work smarter, not harder. I'm going to call out three main elements to working smarter. I'm sure there's more, but for me, these are the keys. The first element being the integration of the New South Wales Planning Portal to Council's internal systems. In this case, the integration was to Technology One's P&R module, and through the integration, development assessment officers, along with the development support officers, were able to continue to manage the assessment of DAs via the specialised in-house local government software package. So key milestone information was then passed back to the planning portal. And for those interactions, such as a request for further information, this information was automatically passed back to property and rating for officers to action. The second element, and one that carried equal importance, was transforming the use of Technology One's P&R module. By implementing some simple changes to the event processes, Council was able to effectively manage referrals, providing transparency across this process, and more importantly, leveraging technology to automate documents automatically. So document automation was a key component to working smarter and not harder. By using the system to automatically generate templates, checklists, notice of determinations, Council was able to ensure consistency across all documents. They were also able to reduce the time taken to prepare correspondence and internal documents, and importantly, minimise the errors that occurred under the previous manual process. So the final element of providing staff, the final element of working smarter was providing staff with the right tools. So from ensuring staff had suitable devices for in-field access, whether that be a laptop or an iPad, through to providing online plan stamping functionality. And this was done across the board so that out in the field or even just general remote work from home working, staff were able to access the stamping tool. And this enabled the completion of the assessment process more efficiently and quite importantly with a paper-light approach. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as a result, Council was able to apply a customer-first approach to the assessment and determination of DAs. And this led to a 40% gain in efficiency, a reduction in paper usage, a process that enabled transparency and accountability. It eliminated data duplication between the planning portal and Council's internal systems. It improved the integrity of information, and it saw a significant reduction in assessment time from 47 days down to 30 days. So it was quite a significant achievement for council. I am no longer working for that particular council and no longer in the realm of IT, having transitioned over to Wingecarribee into customer experience. But I'm pretty happy to say that I'm actually able to repeat this entire process again at Wingecarribee. So I'm excited to be able to jump in and make some differences for this council. So thank you very much. I don't know if we're going to allow any questions or if there are any, but yeah, feel free if there are any to jump on. Otherwise, we can head to the quick break.
We'll just go to the next slide if we can. We've been, I guess, on our digitalisation journey for the last 3 years, and I just wanted to share a bit about how we've done that and what we've managed to achieve and some of the challenges that we've had through that process. I know there are 4 observations here, and it says 3. You get a bonus one. 4 observations that I guess we've based our opportunity for change on. The first is that in local government, our core technology is at least 20 years old, and I'm being generous. with the main players, with the Civicas, with the tech ones, we are looking at technology which is at least 20 years old, if not more, with some innovation on it, but not a great deal. And that software is slow to change and difficult to innovate from. And again, these are generalizations, are not the case for everybody, and there are definite examples of where this isn't the case. But the experience, certainly at Wallandillia, was that for our customers was that the experience hadn't changed very much in 20 years. We were struggling to put services online. It was still very much paper-based. People phoning up, people coming in, people queuing up at the counter to get service. The productivity improvements that are open to us in local government are manual workflows are mind-boggling, and the opportunities that we have to improve those manual processes are also mind-boggling. And when you look at it, almost everything that we do, apart from maybe building a road or fixing a pothole, is a workflow. We get a request, we do something. We produce a result. Anything from a development application all the way through to just a customer request are all basically workflows. So on those, with those principles, we've kind of built our digitalization project. If we go to the next slide. So what did we want to do? Well, we wanted to revolutionize our customer experience, and we wanted to save a shed ton of money by automating, or at least part of automating our manual workflows. Let me go to the next one. And how we did that? Well, on the basis that we had old technology that we couldn't innovate with, or we struggled to innovate with, we wanted to change the paradigm a bit, with the knowledge that if you continue to do things the same old way, then you'll never get the change that you need. And we invested in some software not normally seen in local government. We invested in, a very good low code or no code workflow automation platform, and we integrated it with our existing systems. And if we go to the next one. When we talk about Salesforce, most people have heard of it, and they see it as being a customer relationship management system, and it is. But for us, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Where we get benefit from Salesforce is through its business automation function, and just the tip of the iceberg with the customer portal that we've put in is customer facing side of things, but the vast majority of the benefit that we've got in terms of efficiency and the improving the actual responsiveness of our services has come through the business automation parts that we get through Salesforce. And I'll give an example of how Salesforce does that, or how we've done that. And the example that I'll use is the process that we've put in to automate or digitize our building inspections function. The old way, before we put in the solution, was that customers would call to book an inspection. They'd speak to somebody on the contact center. The message was relayed to the admin staff in the building inspection team. They would call the customer to confirm the time, check to make sure that we've got all the information that we needed for the inspection, and then get from the customer any further information that we needed. They then, at the end of the day, they'd print out all of the documentation that the inspectors needed for the following day's inspection, and pull together for them all of the files that they needed for their reference material. And you'd quite often see the building inspectors walk out of the office in the mornings with a stack of files over a foot long. The inspector comes to collect those. They come from home, they come into the office. They then go out on site. Our shire is fairly big. It could easily be an hour and a half for our inspectors to get to where they needed to be to do the inspections. So there was a significant amount of time lost just coming into work and then going back out again to do the inspection. When they go to inspection, they record they recorded the results on paper with a pen. Then they came back into the office at the end of the day and then gave their results to the admin team, who would then type out their written notes, put them into authority. They'd record the information and then send out a letter to the staff, to the customer, advising of the results of the inspection. Now, if I go to the next one, the customer books an inspection online. So they go onto our customer portal. They will select a time that that suits them for the inspection. They'll be asked to supply any further documentation that we require, which they can then upload through the portal. The building inspector downloads all of the documentation for the day's inspections as they leave for work in the morning, and all of the information they need for that day's work is downloaded to their iPad. The inspector records the results on their iPad, which is then updated into our corporate systems in real time, and the results of the inspection is automatically sent to our customer. And that basically happens through the workflow or business automation that we get through the Salesforce product. We started this journey with a proof of concept, and very much building on the what Stephen said at the beginning of the session. We didn't commit to a big bang approach. We understood that to do what we were trying to do was a significant investment for the organisation, and the organisation needed some certainty that that investment would pay dividends. We picked the on-site sewage management process, which for us in a semi-rural shire is a big deal. We've got something like 35% of our properties don't have connection to the sewer, and they manage their waste on site. It's a fairly significant administrative burden to manage that number of on-site systems, and it basically took 1.5 people full time just to manage the admin work that was associated with that. It was a good test case because it had some customer facing components, it had some payment components, it had some on-site or field service components, and it had a big complicated business process attached to it. We spent about 4 months with the team who were doing that, developing that system in Salesforce, automating the workflow, working out how we would allow payments to be made, improving the data that we had with our on-site systems and moving that data into the Salesforce system. We've taken what was a 65-hour-a-week process down to a 3-hour-a-month process. So we were able to show significant savings with the automation there. That allowed us to get a lot of credibility with our councillors and with our executive team, so that when we asked for further funding, it was provided. In December 2022, we went live with our customer experience components, so our request management, and shortly after that with our customer portal, which allowed our customers to log their requests through our Salesforce community. Just by the fact that we know we get now 30% of our requests through the portal, we don't need the number of customer service staff that we would have done with the growth that we've had, which has given us a fairly significant annual savings. In September 2021, we added the rates management component, which allowed customers to fully manage their rates, to make payments online, to enter into payment arrangements, to apply for hardship consideration, and to manage their account on multiple properties. We digitized the building inspections, as I've gone through, in November 2021. Just the savings in not having people come into the office able to go straight out onto site, plus all of the savings we've made by not having the manual work of getting the information to the building inspectors, and just that time saving in travel time over 9 or 10 building inspectors has a very significant saving. We can go to the next one. We digitized our driveway entrance applications about 9 months ago, which has saved us half a full-time equivalent. We are getting through the same, or through double the work with the same number of staff, which has allowed us to deal with a lot of growth that we're having in the Shire at the moment. We've digitized our environmental health inspections, and that includes food inspections and our health inspections. We've put an online venue and facilities booking system onto the customer portal. So far we've made a very significant annual saving, and if you go to the next one, and that's in relation to our costs, as the graph shows, is making an annual return on investment already of a very significant amount. Our costs are fixed at about just over $300,000 a year, but our savings are already up to getting on for $800,000. In terms of non-financial benefits, if we can go to the next one, our customers have a portal where they can log and track customer requests. They can fully manage their rates. They can complete online smart forms to access services, and they can book their facilities. We have a vastly improved knowledge of our customers. The Salesforce customer relations management functionality allows us to get a lot more insights than we would have had from the authority system. We have our field staff able to access their work in the field, and a good example of that is that Salesforce has an app, a mobile app. We decided not to roll that out when we first went live with our requests, but within 2 or 3 days of us going live with that, I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, we found this app on the App Store, and we've logged in with our account, and we've been managing our requests with it for the last couple of days. Is that okay?" And so an example of just the benefit that you get from using a system which has billions of dollars invested in its and its customer experience is that you can just give somebody an app and they can use it without having to be trained in the intricacies of some of the apps that we have at the moment. So a really good example of the benefit you get from a best of breed application. We've had a significant improvement in staff satisfaction with the automation of a lot of repetitive manual processes, and we manage our customers' bodily waste and the environment much better than we used to. We can go to the next one. What made the project work for us? Well, we were lucky enough to have a really good CEO who encourages us to take calculated risks and is prepared to be innovative. We've made a number of mistakes with other executive officers I have had. Those mistakes would have probably seen the end of the project. With our CEO, his view is, well, the only way to avoid making mistakes is to do nothing, and so he encourages us to actually take risks, be innovative, and is okay with the inevitable mistakes to get made as you move from one system or one set of processes to another. That proof of concept was really important, and anybody who is thinking of embarking on this journey, I definitely recommend that you start off small with a use case that you can show positive return on investment, that builds credibility with the project within the organization. Don't let the scale and the possible scope of the problem get in the way. If you look at the digitization or automation of an entire council, that's a mind-bogglingly large amount of work. If you start the project with that scope and scale, it just tends to turn people off. You go at it like you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. We picked a hungry Salesforce partner, somebody who wanted to prove themselves in the marketplace. Salesforce operate on a partner basis where you buy your licenses from Salesforce, but the implementation is normally done by a third party. We picked somebody who was very keen to get into the local government market. We certainly wouldn't have had the same results had we chosen some of the larger, better known companies in the market. We picked projects where staff were really open to change. It makes transformation so much more difficult when you've got people who aren't particularly keen on that change. There is so much opportunity for us to make improvements that we have the luxury of being able to pick and choose which processes that we automate. So one of the key things that to help us make the decision is whether on where to go next with the project is whether staff are keen to make that change and they're able to support the implementation of the project. That's made a huge difference. We've got very supportive staff members, and their help is critical in the project. And we keep a huge amount of faith with the ability of our existing IT staff. We go to the next one. Some of the problems we didn't expect. Life as a CIO in local government, when the answer is always no, because the technology can't support what the business is asking for, makes for a fairly easy life. Now I have the tools to say yes. It really puts the pressure on. We've got to get a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot more agile. We've worked out that just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should, and there are lots of opportunities now and things that maybe were too big at the time. The facilities booking one probably is one that I'll quote there. We probably weren't ready for a service of that complexity, and it really tested us. We got there in the end, but it was probably one we should have waited until we had a bit more experience. When you have automation, your mistakes tend to be bigger. If you send one letter manually in error, then it goes to one person. If you make that same mistake with an automated letter, it could go to 2,000, and that's something that we've learned the hard way. Setting up a system to get people to do the right thing is easy. It's far more difficult to set it up to stop them doing the wrong thing. And every project, even the smallest change, needs to be properly scoped and designed, and we found out to our cost that without doing that, then things can get very much more difficult very quickly than was expected. So we can go to the next one. So what's next? So far we've dealt with the relatively small stuff. This year, we're tackling some of our bigger processes. We're just about to go live with the automation of our planning certificates. Next is DAs, and then the rest of the statutory planning processes will follow over the next 18 months. And last one, I think. So in summary, we've implemented the best possible customer experience and digitization automation software on the market. That's possibly not completely true these days. There are some other competitors, but certainly when we went to market, Salesforce was the only option. Our community is already getting a much improved customer experience, and we've saved a fortune already. And the thing that I guess excites me is that we've only just started. We've already achieved a lot with just looking at maybe the 10-15% of our services. The possibility for further improvement is endless. And that's it from me, unless there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Thanks, Adele.
Well, Ross has got a question.
Cool.
Thanks very much, Simon. That's great. And
Thank you.
Very exciting to hear about. 2 questions, if I may. You mentioned the savings achieved by the projects already and big things still to come. What were the costs of the project?
So we now our annual budget for Salesforce is just over 300,000, and that includes the licensing and the implementation costs. And that's been the case for the last for this year and the last 2. So there's just shy of $1 million there, plus the first year where I think the implementation costs were 50,000. So we've just spent just slightly over $1 million. Our annual savings so far are 750. So we pay for the project pretty much every year, or will do very shortly.
Yeah, that's great. And the other question was about, I guess, looking ahead. You're just about to go live with the planning certificates, was it?
Yep.
And what's it looking like in terms of the integration with the New South Wales portal?
Yeah, good question. That's been, I guess, a challenge for us and everybody else. We avoided going with a point-to-point integration between authority and the planning portal, and opted for an integration which goes into our middleware that we use for all of our integration. So the automation still needs to be finished. We're probably a few months off that, but it's looking pretty promising, so that we're getting the full benefit. Everything that we can get out of the planning portal, we should be able to get into our other corporate systems. Planning certificates, we don't currently use the planning portal for, and we don't plan to unless we're forced to. Obviously, when we get into the DAs, that's going to be a different story. And yeah, so we're integrated with. We can put stuff into authority. We do need to do some work to then move that stuff into Salesforce.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ross.
There's another question to Simon from Kerry at Cessnock.
Yep.
She would like to know, does this connect to your records management system?
Yep. So we use Content Manager. The Content Manager has a fairly good integration, or an API or set of APIs which allow us to integrate pretty much everything that we need to do from Salesforce into Content Manager. So yeah, any documentation which is created in Salesforce is moved directly into Content Manager. Even the cases that we create for our customer requests goes back onto the property file. So yep, it pretty much integrates seamlessly between the two.
Thank you. All right, I don't think there's any further questions.
All right, thanks, Adele.
Hi, everyone. I thought I'd just continue on with the presentation. I'm Ken Ang, Business Systems Development Officer at Lane Cove Council. Just wanted to thank everyone for participating and bearing with us with our soft launch. I think just like any digital innovation project, we're still ironing out the kinks. at the start. So just wanted to quickly thank Isabel and my fellow committee members for their presentation. Just want to check firstly, can everyone see the slide, Adele?
Yes, I
Is that
can.
showing up?
You're not in presentation mode though, Ken.
I'll put that into presentation mode now. Is that a little better?
We're still seeing the main screen.
It's still seeing the main screen.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll
I think you just have to click enable editing at the top. Ken, it might not. let you
right.
do it.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have a go with that. Is that showing up?
No, we're still
Everyone?
seeing
That's all right.
not
I'll keep
presentation mode.
going
Yeah.
on, but that's all right. All right. Just wanted to thank Isabel and my fellow committee members for their presentations. Just to summarize, we had Stefan clearly defining the nuances between transformation and innovation projects. Adele sharing a great example of working smarter, not harder, through her DA automation project, and Simon for really summing up the benefit of a fully integrated, mature vendor and product with Salesforce. So I thought it was a really good soft launch. I'm just going to detail a little bit about what we have next in store for the network. We have lots, and we're hoping to have another forum on the 4th of May with new topics and speakers. So if anyone here is interested in sharing a project, good or bad, please get in touch with the team at LG Professionals New South Wales. And we encourage those within digital innovation and the likes. We know it's a very broad area to attend the local government conference on the 31st of May to 1st of June, as their key program items covered, such as putting digital innovation to work, cybersecurity, and creating a future-ready organization. And I believe registrations are now open. And lastly, please save the date for the Customer Experience Conference on the 24th, 25th of August. We're looking at that conference as a chance for us to include more digital innovation in that program and potentially have an in-person networking session included for members of our network. And at that time, a survey, actually going forward, a survey will be distributed to all our members shortly, requesting your feedback on topics and speaker suggestions. So yeah, just keep an eye out in your inboxes. So I'm just going to wrap up with the last slide for the day, and really it's just a chance for us now. I'm just going to open the floor to all attendees, ask that we can all switch on our cameras and take ourselves off mute, so maybe we can introduce ourselves and have an informal networking session. I believe we'll stop the recording now so we can all kind of chat freely.